Can I retire with $150,000? Good question. We're going to dive into that today. My name's Casey Kraft. I'm a financial advisor with Raymond James. Let's get into another case study. Today we got Jimmy and Jenny. Let's dive in. Here's Jimmy and Jenny, and they're both born June 1965 and have had a wonderful marriage for the last 30 years and just love each other so much. Jimmy currently makes $75,000, Jenny makes $60,000, and they live in Georgia, up in Blue Ridge. Have you ever been? You should, because it's awesome. Me and a couple buddies went a few years ago, did some hiking, did some, what's the thing when you're attached to a harness and you zip line? We zip lined. Oh my gosh. Such a blast. If you haven't been to Blue Ridge, you should 1000% go at some point.
And Ronnie, I feel like you're just here for the zip line.
What?
Jimmy wants to retire at 62, so does Jenny, and Jimmy is expected to live until 92. Jenny's gonna live a little bit longer, probably, so we're gonna plan for 94 because women aren't as dumb as men.
A new analysis published in the British Medical Journal finds men are idiots and idiots do stupid things.
And they're not planning to move to another state during retirement. They're gonna stay put. They're very, very simple people. I like them a lot. They're chill, love their vibe. And they don't have a lot of goals for retirement. They've got their expenses. They want to keep it kind of as is. They don't really want to travel anywhere. I mean, why would you want to? You live there in Blue Ridge, Georgia.
What's waiting for you at home?
I don't know.
But let's talk about their goals. There's not much to the plan. So really it's just, hey, can we afford what we're currently living off of right now? You know, our lifestyle right now. Can we still keep it the exact same? And we want to make sure that our healthcare costs are covered, so we got to plan for that. And then there's really no big goals that they have other than just wanting to get a new truck every 10 years for a total of 2 times. So if they retire at 62, doing it at 72 and 82. And then after that, they're probably not going to be driving much. Their words, not mine. So I would love for this to be a little bit more in depth. Personally, I like really, really clear, vivid goals to have in retirement. Put up golfing, charitable contributions. You know, I have courtside basketball seats in my plan. So at least once a year, I want to see the best players in the NBA, and I want to have the best tickets. So it might be silly to you, but I don't care because that's what I want to do. They're happy with just really the basic living expenses and replacing out their truck. Their living expenses that we have planned are, if both of them are retired, we're going to live off of $48,000 a year. And if it's just one of them, I know that it says Jenny right here, but it could say Jimmy as well. And if so one of them passes, their expenses are going to go from 48 grand a year down to 40 grand a year. And then I've got a inflation rate right here of 2.2%, which I think is a prudent number to put in. We can change that on your plan if you would like. We can make it higher, we can make it lower. I do like to be a little bit more conservative with that, but we've got their goals, and let's figure out some other information about them. Again, they want to retire at 62, so that is when you can start pulling from Social Security. Let's see what their benefits look like. You can see right here, we've got Jimmy selected for 62, so he's expected to get $2,165 a month. And if Jenny starts taking at 62, she will get $1,836 a month. Now, just for the heck of it, let's see what it looks like at full retirement age, which is 67. And for Jimmy, it's $3,092 a month. For Jenny,
Wait, Jenny,
it's $2,623 a month. I was doing a Jenny impression in my head.
I do remember the first time I heard the sweetest voice in the wide world.
You can sit here if you want. That's the worst impression. Shout out Forrest Gump, one of my favorite movies of all time. That's a top 5er for sure. If you haven't seen it, you should, because good is fun and fun is good.
Well, you're gonna sit down, aren't you?
And then at age 70, Jimmy is expected to get $3,835 a month, and Jenny is going to get $3,253 a month. So we know what their Social Security benefits look like, which is great. Here is where their $150,000 is at. So they've each got 75 grand in their 401k. Between their contributions and what their employer is matching, Jenny, they both get a 4% match at their employers. So Jenny's 5% that she's putting in pre-tax plus the 4% match she's getting from work is $5,400 a year. And Jimmy, remember, he makes a little bit more than Jenny. So he is also making 75 grand. Between his 5% that he's putting in pre-tax into his 401k, he also gets a 4% match. So his annual additions to his 401k right now are $6,750 for a grand household total of $12,150. Would they consider saving more if needed to meet their goals? I ask them this question. They say yes, but only about another 5% of our income. We don't want to stretch it too much, Casey. We love our lifestyle. We have peanuts and hot cocoa out here on the porch. And that's just what we like. But they are somewhat willing to save a little bit more. We're going to look at their other assets. So their cars are worth 25 grand, their home is worth $400,000, and their savings, they've got 30 grand in their savings account. Notice that we're not going to be using this at all to fund their retirement goals. Doesn't make sense to sell your home to put in the stock market because now you got to live somewhere. So we're not counting any of those assets towards their goals. And the only debt that they have is $32,000 on their mortgage at a 4.25% interest rate. They're not too big in a rush to get that paid off, which I'm okay with, because their mortgage payment with where their income is at, it's a small portion of their overall expenses for the month, and that's a pretty low interest rate. So I actually kind of like not putting extra towards the house in this situation. And they've got a net worth of $573,000. So now that we know where they're currently at, let's see what their overall probability of success is right now if they continue to make their income that they have with making the same contributions in their 401k. Is what they are doing right now going to give them the retirement that they want? Let's find out. All right, so let's run 1,000 trials of good markets, bad markets, good timing, bad timing. Yeah, not good. We got a goose egg. We don't like to see that. So not the end of the world, but it is a very big eye-opener for both of them because they figured that they'd be maybe 50-50, that they were going to be able to retire off that plus their Social Security, but not so much. So some changes need to be made. Let's figure out what that looks like.
2 seconds later.
All right, here's their current scenario right here in this column. Then we've got option 1 and option 2. Now, in both of the different options that I want to throw out there, we're gonna change his investments, their investments a little bit before retirement, and because right now they're about a 4.5 out of 5, 1 being more conservative, 5 being aggressive. I'm saying let's go to a 5 from now until retirement. And then once we get there, how about we tone it down a little bit? We'll go from a growth portfolio or a 5 down to a balanced portfolio or a 3. So let's bring it down to there. But I want to change a couple things. So instead of retiring at 62, let's change it to 65. Come on. 65 and then 67 and 67. Everything else is going to stay the same. The expenses, their health care, the getting a new truck every 10 years for a couple times. And now we're going to change it. So because we changed those ages, we're going to keep it at retirement. So this will eventually be 65 and this will be 67. And let's see what that looks like. And drum roll, please. Bam! Check that out. So we got something. We got a 91%er over here. So that's great. Now, good and bad, right? Because we need to change those investments a little bit. From that side, you know, we'll be more conservative after retirement, but they're going to have to work an extra 5 years. So we talk about this. Of course, the first reaction is not the greatest, understandably, but Hey, it's a 91% chance, and let's be honest with ourselves, Jimmy and Jenny, you haven't been doing as much as you should have. We really should have been putting away like 15% over the last 20 years, and we'd be in a much, much different situation. So, and I'd love for them to have an even more specific set of goals for retirement, but that's just me, and we're going to be different on these things. It was really important that they just keep their basic living expenses and change out a truck. They're very simple. They know what they know. They like what they like. They eat what they eat. They cook, they're set in their ways, and that's totally fine. I'm not going to jump on them and harp on them for not having the most extravagant goals, but I do want people to be charitable, and I'm really trying to push people to just set really, really specific goals so that you're living and you're working in a way that when you get to retirement, you can live the way that you want. So they're happy with this. They're happy with 91%. They're happy. I'm happy. Thank you so much for watching. I love putting together these videos. Do me a solid. If you like this kind of planning, follow along with the channel, show some love to the video. And put some comments in the section. If you want me to do your specific example, throw something at me. Hey, I'm this old. I make this. This is my income. This is how much that I have saved. Throw out some goals too, and I'll put them out there in the next video. If you're not sure what your financial plan looks like, that's okay. I know there's a lot going on. Life is crazy. But we can actually work together. We can sit down, look at where you're at. I can look at your investments. I'll show you my investment philosophy and how I'm picking the different funds that I do in my models. We can talk about what steps you need to take. A, B, and C, 1, 2, 3. Like I'll show you exactly what it is that you need to do in order to feel really good and confident about what your plan is. Talking about people's retirement is really, really important to me, and I'd love to talk about what yours looks like. So there's a Calendly link in the video below. Click on that, find a time that works best for you. We'll put something together, and I'll look forward to meeting you. Thanks again so much for watching. My name's Casey Kraft with Raymond James. I'll see you in the next one. God bless.